We have been hearing a lot about the go woke go broke sentiment, and with the latest Saints Row reboot, many have the same opinion. When the original trailer for the game dropped, I have to admit that I was not very excited about the game. With that said though, leading up to the launch of the game, after seeing the gameplay trailer, I actually found myself becoming more and more excited. When I first got into PC gaming about 10 years ago, Saints Row was actually the first game that I ever played on desktop, as crazy as that might sound. Since then I have been hooked, so when I heard about the reboot, I was understandably excited. The excitement though did very quickly fade when I saw the first trailer and realized that the game had nothing in common with its previous namesake. With that said though, I was still hopeful, and although I had no plans to buy it day and date, it was definitely a title that I would consider picking up on Steam sales or even maybe on a hopeful Game Pass release. The sentiment on the internet was clear though. The one character looked like he was stuffed into a high school locker, the other looked like she wanted to call my manager, and the last was trying to cancel me on Twitter for using the incorrect pronoun. A woke disaster, at least according to the usual internet suspects. So how right were they? I followed the launch of the game pretty closely because I really wanted it to be good, and after watching a few content creators that I actually trust give their opinion, it became clear that this game was not that great. Although not for any of the reasons that is previously stated. I never agreed with the sentiment that the characters was woke, it just felt that they tried to appeal more to the youth of today, making the characters more in line with today's everyday people, which in my opinion was a bad call. There is a reason why people love fantasy games. They want to play as characters and play with characters and play against characters that help them escape reality, not remind them of it. And although the crime-riddled world of Saints Row Reboot might be far away from everyday life for the most part, none of that was enough to escape some of the character design. But was it enough to turn people away from the game? Well, let's take a look at the numbers. Thanks to industry.biz and their article, the Saints Row Reboot debuted at number 1 in the UK box charts, and we also got a bit of a deeper understanding into the success of the game. The new Saints Row was the biggest selling box game at UK retail last week, launching at number 1 in the weekly charts. The game launched to mixed reviews and marks the first new entry into the series since 2015's Get Out of Hell. According to GFK data, Saints Row sold more than 5 times the number of units in the first week as 2017's Agents of Mayhem, a multiplayer spin-off of the series. Comparisons from the earlier Saints Row titles are somewhat tougher due to the shift towards digital sales. The last full entry was 2015 Saints Row Get Out of Hell. Now, although direct comparisons cannot be made, it is still clear that the game at least realized some sort of success, even if it was just in the first week. And in the first week is very important here because the success of the game was short-lived, as it saw a massive drop-off in the second week, most likely due to negative reviews. Games Industry in a separate article stated that sales for Saints dropped by a massive 80%. Now, with that said, not everyone disliked the game. Kotaku in their article stated that it was actually quite enjoyable. Kotaku refers to the game as less of a train wreck and more of a messy fun car crash. Before I played the latest Saints Row game, confusingly titled just Saints Row, I expected a shit show. On YouTube I saw countless popular channels call it soulless, dead and the worst game of 2022. Reviews from various outlets weren't much better. Yet after putting about 14 hours into the game on Xbox Series X, I'm having a great time even if I feel like I've played the game before. Saints Row, not to be confused with the original game, is basically a reboot of the popular open world Crime 'em Up franchise. Released last week, it stars a new crew of characters, a new leader of the Saints and a set of new South Southwest cities. But while it might share its name with the more grounded original game, this new reboot has more in common with the Saints Row the Third, featuring a wacky world filled with outlandish missions and a crew of likable misfits who are both ruthless murderers and good friends. And this time you get to actually see the origin of the new iteration of Saints, letting you help build up the world's most famous gang. Now I know not many is going to like the opinions of large outlets like IGN or Kotaku, believing that their opinions are bought or at least softened due to not wanting to anger publishers, but I think their opinions is still valid even if you disagree with it. Although my excitement for the game has dropped off completely due to reviewers that I trust saying that it's boring, I can still understand why others might get some sort of joy out of it, especially those who has no prior experience with the franchise. I not knowing anything about the Lord of the Rings, I actually found myself enjoying the Amazon series a lot, even with everyone else claiming that it is complete garbage. With that, I do understand why a first time Saints player might find similar joy in the story. A woke disaster? I think not. An overall disaster? No. Boring and broken? I could see the argument for that. But that is also just one person's opinion who watched a Twitch stream of someone else playing the game instead of playing it himself.